Welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, our names are Steph and Katie, and we're a married couple from Canada. Back in 2022, we bought a waterfront lot on one of the Southern Gulf Islands here in BC, and last summer we started the process of building a luxury tiny house for our remote property. Our dream is finally becoming a reality, and after working with a local builder for the past 9 months, our tiny home and additional office pod are all finished and ready to be delivered. The house and office turned out better than we could have imagined, and we've been so excited to get them both on our property so we can celebrate reaching the finish line of this huge project. Getting a tiny home transported to a remote island property isn't easy, so our builder scheduled 3 days to get our office pod and our house delivered by ferry. We wanted to be there in person, so we cleared our schedule and packed up our car for the big event. The plan was to take the office over on day 1, the house on day 2, and leave the 3rd day for setup. Both structures need to travel 5 hours on the road and then get on 2 separate ferries to get to our property.
Okay, it is delivery day. It is day 1. We are so excited, and we just got to the ferry.
Yeah, we have a car packed full of stuff. We have to pat ourselves on the back for how well we organized our stuff and got so much in our tiny little car. Yeah, Betty pulled through again, so we are here. We have our stuff. We just came through the ferry booth, and on the way in, we actually saw our pod. So that was super exciting.
There it is! There it is! There it goes! It's happening. It's happening. We're on our way. We're doing it. Delivery day. I can't believe it.
It's like it doesn't feel real, but it also does.
Yeah. And I have a good feeling. I feel like we're so prepared. We're so organized. Yeah, we have everything we could possibly need packed in this car. And I just have good feelings about it.
Good. Let's keep those good feelings in case we need to be on our toes.
So. Yeah. I don't know. I'm sure things will happen, and who knows. But I don't know. We're here. We made it.
We've done our part. At the end of the day, it's kind of up to our team to help get everything in place and stuff. But that's, we've kind of done what we can do. Yeah. So we can feel good about that.
Definitely. So we are going to take little Theo for a walk before we hop on the ferry and walk over to the office pod and check it out in line. And so let's go do that.
Our builder left bright and early in the morning to drive our office pod down from the Okanagan, and we were so excited to see it in the ferry lineup. We decided to add this structure into the project to have a separate workspace as well as a flex room that we can use for guests and entertaining. It definitely makes delivery a bit more complicated, but we know it's going to be so worth it in the end. The pod is 100 square feet with a beautiful built-in desk as well as a big comfy sofa bed and tons of storage. We're so happy with how it turned out, and it's going to look amazing on the property. Just need to get it on a couple ferries first.
Well, we've encountered some rough waters, literally. We are on the ferry, and it is probably the roughest it's ever been. It's noisy, the ferry's moving around. Theo's not a fan.
No. Yeah, bumpiest ferry I think we've ever been on, to be honest. Otherwise, I think everything's good. We're here. We're on the boat. The office pod got on the boat. It's all good. But yeah, rough waters today. So, I don't know. Yeah, we're on the upper deck. We're staying in the car because we have Theo, and he is not a fan. He does not like it.
Yeah.
Poor baby.
But hopefully when we get to the more protected part of the route, things will just settle a little bit, and then it'll be smooth sailing.
I hope so. Oh my god, it's so bumpy. I have my little stick bands on, but it's holy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, wish us luck.
Do you hear that? It's so loud. Poor baby.
Aside from it being a bumpy ride, it could not have been a more beautiful day for us. The skies were clear, the sun was out, and the water looked absolutely stunning. We're pretty excited to get to do this journey regularly now because it's honestly so gorgeous. The first ferry was successful, and then it was time to line up for ferry number 2. Our little pod made it safely off the boat and to the next terminal, and we met up in line again to wait for our sailing. So far so good, and after a short wait, we got to get on our next ferry. It felt so surreal watching our office drive onto the second boat, knowing that the next stop was our property. We'd been waiting for this for such a long time, it's hard to believe we finally made it to our delivery day. The BC Ferry staff was great, and everything went very smooth. The pod definitely got some attention from fellow travelers, and everyone was commenting on how great it looked, which was nice to hear. It was so fun getting to ride the ferry with it. Seeing it on the deck with the incredible views was something we'd really been looking forward to. The second ferry ride was much smoother, and the weather was still beautiful. Things almost felt too easy, so we were trying to prepare ourselves for what might come next. We knew this was an ambitious project to begin with, and everything came down to a successful delivery. We were crossing our fingers for it to all go well, hoping that we could get through the next few days without any major disasters.
Okay, ferry number 2. So far, so good. This one is way less bumpy.
Yeah. We're definitely more in a protected area that has much smoother water. So that is lovely. Yeah. The pod is on the boat. We are on the boat.
Yeah.
And we are going to be there soon.
Yeah, everything's been going pretty smooth. Our builder ran into some issues last night with a permit, and he didn't get a lot of sleep, so I feel bad for him.
Yeah.
But otherwise, everything's been really smooth. We got on the ferry. Pod got on the ferry twice, and I don't know, we're heading to the property.
Yeah.
So far, so good.
That's the next hurdle, I suppose.
Yeah, getting this thing in place. So that's what today's all about, and we'll see. We haven't been to the property since February, so we haven't seen any of the site prep. We haven't seen any of anything in a while. So
a couple photos of the driveway, but otherwise, it's all new to us.
Yeah, so we're also just excited to get there and see all the services that have been put in and just everything being done. So that's exciting. Yeah, and it's a beautiful day.
It is gorgeous.
It couldn't be a nicer day.
Yeah.
It's perfect. All right.
It's time. It's time. It's time. There's a pride flag. There's a pride flag. Come on.
When the ferry arrived, it was go time. The pod got off the boat first, slow and steady, and then we got on the road to catch up with it. It was so fun watching it drive down the street, and our island locals were all super courteous, giving us lots of space. We got to follow right behind it the whole way to our property, and it was such an exciting part of the day. Luckily, we didn't run into any problems on the road aside from it being quite narrow. But everything was paved evenly, there weren't too many steep inclines, and aside from maybe knocking down a few tree branches, it all went as well as we could have hoped. When we got to the property, we parked everything at the end of the driveway and then headed in on foot to tour the site. This was the first time our builder was seeing the land in person, and our first time being back on the property since all the work was done. So much happened since our last visit in February, and it was really exciting to see all the progress that was made. The The driveway looks amazing, and so does our little shed that was put in to house the well equipment. We also got to see our new electrical pole that was put in to bring power to our lot. While the property still very much looked like a construction zone, we could see how much had been done over the past couple months, and it's so impressive. Our contractor and all of our tradespeople really did an amazing job for us. After we scoped things out, it was time to drive the office pod in and start getting it into place. We knew that going up the driveway would be the easy part, but we were all a little nervous about getting it off its trailer and onto the ground. Our property being sloped definitely makes it more of a challenge, but we knew it was going to look incredible if we can get it down into the spot we planned. Our contractor did an amazing job widening our driveway and making enough space for the pod and tiny house to come through. If you remember what it looked like before, it's come such a long way and honestly looks perfect. Our builder went nice and slow and the pod got in without any problems. Then it was time to clear a little extra space and come up with a game plan for getting it down to where it needed to go. The plan was always to put the office pod on the far side of the property where there was a natural clearing overlooking the water. Our dream was to be able to sit at our desk and look out over the ocean, so we were determined to get it down there. Our contractor had prepped a gravel pad for it, but we all knew it needed to make it down a fairly steep hill in order to get it in place. So that was going to be our biggest hurdle. While our builder and contractor worked together to come up with a plan, we took a minute to check out our new shed. We also walked down to the gravel pad, which looked great, and admired our gorgeous view. We still don't know how we got so lucky to be doing this, but we keep needing to pinch ourselves because it's truly incredible. Such a dream come true after many, many years of working toward it. Then it was time to get the pod in place, so they started backing it down the hill. I think everyone was a little nervous, but didn't want to say so. We were all just hoping it would go smoothly, even though it was definitely an ambitious undertaking. They took things very slowly and carefully, backing it down a little bit at a time to make sure the pod was at the right angle. It really is a steep area, so we were kind of holding our breath watching it go down. It was very slow and definitely nerve-wracking, but we decided to trust the process and believe that it would get down there safely. And one tiny bit at a time, it eventually got down to the gravel pad. Once it was down there, it was time to figure out a plan for getting it safely off its trailer, which was probably going to be the most difficult part of the whole process. But we made it this far, so we're confident it would get done somehow. While there was a bit of a break from the action, we decided to take some time to unload our car. We knew we'd have space in our new shed, so we brought a ton of stuff with us that we could unpack once the house got there. It was also getting close to dinner time at that point, so we thought we'd test out our new electric kettle and make some food. Having power and hot water honestly felt so luxurious, so we made some ramen cups with tofu that we brought in our little mini fridge, and it was exactly what we needed. Then it was back to the pod, and the guys seemed to have a pretty solid plan for sliding it off the trailer and onto the gravel pad. Considering how heavy the structure is, it was definitely stressful knowing it had to somehow make it safely onto the ground, but everyone seemed confident that they could make it happen. We held our breath again while they slowly slid it down, knowing every inch meant we were one step closer to our dream office. Everyone was so careful and took it nice and slow, so even though we were nervous, we were also just so excited. Little by little, they brought it down, and then the next step was pulling the trailer out. This was probably the scariest part to watch, but ultimately they were so careful and managed to place the pod down as gently as possible. At that point, everyone had been at it for hours, so we decided to call it a day.
Well, all in all, a very successful day. So we're waiting for the ferry right now to get off the island, and we are going to come back tomorrow with the tiny house, hopefully, if all goes according to plan.
Yeah, we're not quite sure what time we're going to be taking the ferry, but we want to make sure we're on the boat with the house, just like we were with the pod, because I think that was just so cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're sad we're going to be missing stuff at the property with like getting everything into place with the pod, but we're just so happy that we got to witness everything today because it was an adventure. It was entertaining. It was impressive. It was all of the above.
It was. It was very exciting. Yeah, slightly nerve-wracking, but all in all, it went well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good morning. We just left the ferry lineup. The house did not make it to the early ferry that we were lined up for.
We don't know where the house is.
Don't know
Where's the house?
Yeah, last we talked to the transporter, they said they were trying for the morning ferry. They had like a connection like from another ferry, so we just don't know if they got on that early one or not. They didn't show up. We haven't heard from them, so there's definitely a small part of me that's like, is our house in a ditch somewhere?
I think we're pretty good at like rolling with just problem solving things in general, but
I don't like
not
this.
having information is a hard one to wrap our heads around because
I just want to know that everything's okay because they were driving the house down from like 5 hours away through the night. Yeah. And obviously this is like a professional driver, a professional transporter and everything, but there's a lot of moving pieces. We just want to make sure everything's okay. So the next ferry isn't for like 6 hours, unfortunately.
Yeah, so we've got some time to kill.
Yeah, we have the day to just kind of putter around and stress about it, I guess. So we came to Canadian Tire.
Well, hopefully we'll have some information soon.
Well,
I don't actually need to stress, which is good. But
but we came to Canadian Tire. We're going to have breakfast in the parking lot and diddle around for the afternoon.
Maybe we'll buy a shovel.
Yeah, we do need some tools.
We were definitely hoping we would all get that early ferry to give us more time on the property, but waiting for the afternoon boat wasn't the worst thing. It had been a really long day and a short overnight with not a lot of sleep, so we were all pretty tired. We didn't really mind a quiet morning with some snuggles in the car, but we did want some reassurance that our house was okay. Theo helped to keep us from getting too stressed while we waited to hear some good news.
Okay, update. Our house is okay.
It's okay. Yes, everything is fine.
Yeah, they missed the early ferry this morning by like a few minutes, which really sucks. But they were doing a long drive down from the Okanagan. So they missed the early ferry, which means they missed the connection, which means we didn't have to get up so early, but that's fine.
Definitely could have slept a little longer, which would have been nice to know. But I think just having that peace of mind that everything is fine and that the house is currently waiting for the next ferry, which is several hours later. So we do have some time to kill at Canadian Tire.
Yeah, we've mostly just been chilling in the car. Yeah. Theo's been napping. He's very unbothered by all of this.
The other piece of good news is the tide will be higher when we go.
That's true.
When we get off the ferry. So that also means that the house will have an easier time going off the ferry ramp, which was a bit of a concern that was brought up yesterday. So fingers crossed that all works out and that having that higher tide means that that's better for the house. So
yeah. So that's all good news. Everyone else is on the property right now working away, and in a way maybe it's like good that we're not there. I don't know. There's a lot going on. They're putting the pod into place, which is amazing. They're hopefully going to have it all like set up and leveled and whatever in its proper spot when we get there. And then our septic guy is on site testing our septic system and hopefully getting it all ready to hook up into the house when it arrives. And then our electrician is on site getting ready to hook the pod up. Yeah. So there's a lot going on.
So there's
and
a good chance that when we get there,
do your thing.
A bunch of things will be all set, which is nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the meantime, we can just chill and we're going to have some lunch and go to Canadian Tire.
It's a very exciting.
It's a very exciting day.
Exciting day.
Yeah. Okay.
We love the fact that Canadian Tire is dog friendly, so of course we brought Theo in with us, and one of the first things we found was an adorable little swim shirt for him. It'll be perfect for keeping him cool during the summer on the island, and he seemed to approve. We also grabbed a couple tools that we know will come in handy on the property and browsed through tons of great stuff. They have so many good housewares along with an awesome garden center that had some cute outdoor furniture. There's going to be so much work to do on our outdoor space, which is definitely a project for later, but it's fun to think about what we might want to have. Definitely some kind of seating area with a fire pit would be amazing, and maybe in the future an awesome deck.
Okay, we're back at the ferry. Hopefully our house is here. We don't know. Hopefully we're going to drive up and see it.
Yeah, it'll be really exciting. It should be.
It should be. It should.
There's no reason why
here all day.
It shouldn't be.
Yeah. So cross your fingers. I can't wait to see it. I can't believe we're getting on the boat with our house. There it is. It looks so good.
It was very exciting and also a relief to see our house sitting in the ferry lineup. We were so happy to see that it made it there safely, and we couldn't believe it was finally time for our tiny home to travel to our property. It looked so good and tons of people were coming over to check it out. I don't think it's every day that a tiny house gets on the ferry. Soon it was time to load onto the boat, and it was so fun watching our house drive on the ferry. We imagined this day so many times over the past 9 months, and it felt so exciting. We're really glad we stayed behind to take the ferry with our house, even if it meant missing what was going on the property. I think we would have regretted not being here for this moment. It was another gorgeous ferry ride, and the house got to sit right up front with the best view. The ferry crew was great once again, and we had lots of friendly people coming over to take a look. We're so proud of how the house turned out, so it was honestly really fun to show it off. Taking a tiny home on the ferry was actually easier than we imagined it to be, and everything went really smoothly. We knew the hard part would be getting the house into place on our property, but we were still taking it as a major win that this part of the day was a success. We couldn't help but admire our little house from all angles on the boat. We're so happy with how it looks. It's really such a beautiful home.
Okay, the big moment has arrived. We are almost there, almost off the ferry. We're gonna have to get off first, and then the tiny house is gonna be last. There's a couple just like tricky spots, like the ramp off the ferry, and then there's just like a steep kind of incline immediately after that. So right off the bat, couple tricky bits, and then we're gonna try to get behind the house to follow it along the road. And then we get to our property and it's time. Thank you, Theo. Yeah. It's time to get in place. So we will see.
The fun begins.
Yeah, that'll be the hard part. Are you excited?
I think he is. I think
so too.
Our goal was to get off the ferry and then pull over as quickly as we could so we could watch the house drive off the boat. Luckily, there was a good spot for us to stop so we didn't miss anything. Our builder met us there to make sure everything went smoothly, and the tiny house definitely had a big audience for its grand departure. There were so many people watching it drive off the ferry, we couldn't help but be nervous. Luckily, it all went well, and then it was time to get on the road so we could follow it to our property. It was a little squishy getting past the ferry lineup, but once again, people were so courteous in giving us lots of space. The house went nice and slow on the drive, and all the other cars on the road gave it plenty of room. It was so fun following along and watching our tiny house drive to the property. It was a moment we had been looking forward to for such a long time. It felt like our dream was coming true right before our eyes. The drive went perfectly, and then when we got it to our road, it was time to turn it around. It was going to be too sharp a turn into our driveway, so the transporter needed to back the house down the street. Already we could see how tricky it was to maneuver the trailer, so we started getting a bit nervous about how this was all going to go. We knew it was going to be a tight fit for our property, but hopefully there would be enough space to get it in. When it was time to bring it up the driveway, the transporter's truck got stuck pretty much immediately. Luckily, our contractor had the idea to bring his machine down, and he was able to pull him out pretty easily. From there, they brought the house through nice and slowly, bit by bit, up the driveway. The tiny house is 37.5 feet long, so it was definitely more challenging than the office pod, but we did ultimately have plenty of space to get it through. The stakes were so much higher this day, and having a bigger team on the property definitely brought the stress levels up a bit. I think everyone was anxious to see how this would play out, and we were all hoping it would go smoothly. But with our land being quite sloped with so many trees, it was not an easy task, and we all knew that. Once they got the house up the driveway, it was time to come up with a plan to back it down the hill. It was going down on the opposite side of the property from the office pod, and a pretty steep area as well. Our contractor had cleared a fair amount of space, but it was still going to be a tight squeeze. The plan was to take it slow and see how far we could get. The gravel pad for the tiny house is in such a nice spot overlooking the water with an incredible view. We knew it would be tough to get it down there, but it would be so worth it in the end. While our team worked on moving the house, we decided to take a minute to check out the office pod. This was our first time seeing it on the ground in its place, and it looked absolutely perfect. We don't really know how they rotated it and got it level that morning, but I guess it's fun for some things to remain a mystery. We're just so glad we managed to get it down into our dream spot, and we're so excited to use this space. Once the house got situated at the right angle, it was time to back it down the steepest part of the hill. With the trailer being so low to the ground, we knew it wouldn't be easy. Plus, it had to fit pretty narrowly between two big trees. Bit by bit, they brought it down, and when the wheels finally hit the gravel pad, it felt like a major win. Then it was time to put it on some wood and try to skid it over into place. Our contractor used his machine to pull it from the other end, but we knew at that steep angle, the bottom would be getting stuck in the gravel pretty soon. It had just cleared the trees when it got stuck, so the next step was digging the end out so they could keep pulling it over. At this point, I think everyone was aware of how difficult this was going to be and also how long it was going to take. We didn't have too many more hours of daylight, but we tried to stay positive and hope things would go as smoothly as they could. Little by little, they kept pulling the house across the gravel pad, getting it closer to its final position. We still had a pretty long way to go, but we could see the final vision coming together, and it was so exciting. Eventually, we reached a point where our transporter couldn't get his truck any further down the hill, so they decided to detach from the trailer and leave the house where it was for the night. Not an ideal situation, but they had done what they could do at that point, so the rest of it became a tomorrow problem, and everyone left to get some sleep. The next day, we were back at it with a smaller team and a real determination to get this done. We ultimately didn't have too much further to go, so our builder and our contractor planned out how to safely move the house the last few feet. We were told it would happen, inch by inch, so we stayed patient and trusted the process. And slowly but surely, they pushed and pulled our tiny house bit by bit for the next few hours. It was a very technical and methodical process, but every inch moved us toward the goal. We were so close now. We're so grateful that we had such an amazing team working on this. They were so good at problem solving and managed to figure out every issue we encountered. This was definitely not a simple endeavor, and we honestly couldn't have imagined what it would take to get our house in place, but it was pretty incredible to watch it happen. The last couple hours were tons of small adjustments and literally moving it inch by inch. Not only did we want the house on the gravel pad in its correct position, but we also needed to make sure there was enough room to walk safely around it on all sides. So there were tons of small tweaks needed to get it in the perfect spot. And it was pretty exciting when we got it down to those last couple inches. And after many hours of hard work, they got it in and it looked absolutely perfect. We can still hardly believe it. It was such a journey to get here, but somehow we got it done, and now we have this beautiful tiny house. A dream of ours that was many years in the making finally came true.
Okay, at the end of 3 long days, I can't believe we're saying it, but we did it.
We did it.
It's here.
Well, we didn't do it. They did it.
Yeah.
The guys.
We did very little, actually.
Yeah.
But holy, wow.
That was an experience, to say the least. And everybody who was involved also said that too. So it's not just that we are doing this for the first time and everyone else is like does this all the time.
Yeah.
This was a unique challenge.
I mean, they do this all the time, and we were told that this was probably the most technically difficult like install, delivery, transport that they've done.
Yeah.
Which, wow, yeah, it was very technical. It was very difficult, and I'm just like so amazed. Never at any point did anyone say like, you guys, this is not gonna happen. Yeah. Like it was just full like perseverance, positivity the whole time. Problem solving. Like anytime there's an issue getting stuck, it was just like, let's try this, let's try that. Like inch by inch, we'll get it in there. Like and
inch by inch was the motto for sure.
And they did. They really did.
Yeah. So, it was super impressive.
Yeah. I'm amazed. And even though I never doubted it for a second, I'm still just like, I can't. Wow,
the fact that it happened is like,
it's incredible. I can't believe it. And now we're standing here in front of our house on our property.
And it is incredible.
I can't believe it. Yeah, it's gonna be amazing. So wow, we're exhausted.
Yeah, there's still lots to do.
There's so much to do.
Lots more to come.
Lots more to come. We can't wait to give you a tour. We can't wait to talk through just all the things. There's so many things. There is a lot to do. I think because the delivery took longer than we thought, the setup, we didn't have as much time. So the house is not really set up. We're kind of going to figure that out on our own. But we got all the time in the world now.
Inch by inch.
Inch by inch. We'll get it done.
Thanks so much for watching. Like we said, there is more to come. So make sure you're subscribed and we will see you soon.
Yeah, lots more to come. Bye.
Bye.